Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to your online class. This is your teacher, ProfCosmeRobalino, and today we are going to do something a little different. We are going to go through our digital book in a review to see what we have been doing, what we have learned so far, and then we are going to see what we are going to learn today. So let's get to it, shall we? First of all, if you can see on your book, this is the general index, right? Your book, as you can see, contains 8 units. So the majority of the units have been covered already, both in our normal classes, the traditional classes, and also our online classes that we have been holding through YouTube videos and our Zoom meetings. So let's see. These are the 8 units that the book has, including obviously the unit 0, which is just like a diagnostic to know where exactly we are. Then in the unit number 0, right, we talked about vocabulary, basically, if you remember, right? So that was just a quick review of the vocabulary, yeah, talking about challenges and so on. Now, on the unit number 1, what did we learn? Well, rules. And if you remember, we discussed models. So here you have the vocabulary, right? With the locus similar to what we have in the school, right? With a listening exercise. Then moving on, we did the grammar, right? With the auxiliary do. The present simple in affirmative, negative, and interrogative sentences. Then moving on, we saw how these children how to transport themselves, right? This is the only way of transportation that they have. We also learned general habits that children have, that kids have in Japan. We had a little project, how to survive, and the unit number 1 review. Now, in the unit number 2, we talked about jobs, professions, and occupations, and the ideal job. We talk about some of the jobs that are mentioned even today as the crisis subsides. For example, fireman, nurse, doctor, so on and so forth. This is the grammar that we saw, right? And this is the present continuous. We also learned how to use the present continuous to describe ongoing actions. Then we also talked about food, right? And chefs and cooks. And then we talked about culture in the United States. Then we talked about the job working as a firefighter, right? And we had the review for the unit number 2. Then in the unit number 3, we talked about some items that are sometimes called gadgets, like calculators, cell phones, and so on, and some other things like cars, motorcycles, and the like. So we talked about fashion, right? clothes, right? Here in this unit, we learned the comparatives. We had a reading and listening exercise to apply the comparatives and the superlatives. And we also learned tips when you go shopping, how to shop better, right? When we used to go to the stores, and at the end, we have the review of the units. Next, on the unit number 4, we talked about the environment, something very important, how to protect the planet. And we have seen how the pollution levels have dropped. They have been dropping. Why? Because we don't have cars in the streets, we don't have trucks on the highways, so pollution is low and the sky looks blue once again, right? Okay, so we talked about vegetables, fruits, countable and uncountable nouns, right? But we also learned how to use there is and there are, the singular and the plural. We talked about animals and their habitats. We even saw the movie Eyes of Age, right? We had our little project. And finally, we had the review. Then we talked about happiness, right? We talked about activities, sports, right? And this is where we started watching videos online, and we started with our activities online, right? So this is the review, and on the unit number 6, this is where we talked about history, right? Well, in our case, we talked about the Sumerians, right? How civilization started, and we can see on the book here that there is some relationship, for example, with the discovery of fire and the invention of the wheel, right? And the invention of writing. So we did explore that with the Sumerians and the Mesopotamia, right? So there is a section dedicated to Steve Jobs, but we cannot analyze that because the book is sideways, right? But today we can talk about this part, culture. So let me zoom in to see what exactly this is all about, right? Okay, so this is in Chile, yeah, culture. We're going to explore the culture of Chile, right? Which is, if you can see on the right side of your screen, yeah, Peru is here. On the north is Ecuador, a tiny little country where Doris is from. She was born in Ambato, and I was born in Quito. Okay, so south of Ecuador is Peru with the capital Lima. And south of Peru, this is the Andes, right? This is the Andes, and south of Peru is Chile, okay? All right, so it says here in your book that Chile extends along most of the western coast of of South America. It has a population of 15 million people. The main language is Spanish. Chile extends over a long distance north to south, so it has many different climates. For example, in the north, there is the Atacama Desert, the driest place on earth. Imagine, this is the driest place on earth. But also Chile has mountains. As I was telling you, the Andes form the border between Chile and its neighbors, Peru, Bolivia, and Argentina. All these countries, by the way, speak Spanish, in case you're wondering. The center of the country has a mild climate and most people live there and in and around the capital city of Santiago. The city is cold and wet, and Chile ends up Cape Horn, the most southern point in South America. Cape Horn is a place that is famous for its rough seas and dangerous passage by sea. So it's a total adventure to explore Chile. Okay, so let's do the listening activities that we have right here. Okay, so let's see. It says here, listen at the photos. Okay, so let's look at the photos so we can answer the questions. Okay, so here we have a landscape, right? But if I scroll down, you are going to see these images. And if I scroll over here, there are more telescopes, right? And there are some questions over here. But we are interested in the listening. So let's go over to the listening, right? Okay, and you are going to answer in your houses.
Track 21.
Renata, we're in the Atacama Desert in Chile. Tell us about it.
Well, the climate here is very dry. The Atacama Desert is in the north of Chile. The desert is 1,000 square kilometers, and nobody lives here.
And the Atacama Desert is the home of ALMA, an international project to study the stars. Renata, why the Atacama Desert?
Because it's perfect for astronomy. It's very dry, so there aren't many clouds in the sky. The altitude is perfect. Also, there is very little light pollution.
Light pollution?
Cities and towns generate a lot of light, and it's impossible to see the stars. But that's not a problem here.
How many telescopes do you have?
We have 10 enormous and very powerful telescopes here.
And this is an international project?
Yes. We need the knowledge of experts from all around the world. Chile works with scientists from countries in Asia, Europe, as well as the US and Canada. ALMA's work in Chile is an example of global collaboration. People can do amazing things when they work together.
Okay, so now if I scroll down to the exercise number 3, there are 6 questions. So I'm going to play the track again so you can answer to the 6 questions in your house.
Track 21.
Renata, we're in the Atacama Desert in Chile. Tell us about it.
Well, the climate here is very dry. The Atacama Desert is in the north of Chile. The desert is 1,000 square kilometers, and nobody lives here.
And the Atacama Desert is the home of ALMA, an international project to study the stars. Renata, why the Atacama Desert?
Because it's perfect for astronomy. It's very dry, so there aren't many clouds in the sky. The altitude is perfect. Also, there is very little light pollution.
Light pollution?
Cities and towns generate a lot of light, and it's impossible to see the stars. But that's not a problem here.
How many telescopes do you have?
We have 10 enormous and very powerful telescopes here.
And this is an international project?
Yes. We need the knowledge of experts from all around the world. Chile works with scientists from countries in Asia, Europe, as well as the US and Canada. ALMA's work in Chile is an example of global collaboration. People can do amazing things when they work together.
Okay, so now let's check the answers together. The desert is not 10 square kilometers, but 1,000 square kilometers. The international project doesn't study the fauna, it studies the stars. It's not that there aren't many birds in the sky, it's just that there aren't many clouds in the sky. As we can see from the pictures, telescopes are not tiny, they are enormous. What they need from experts is not the money, but their knowledge. And Alma's work in Chile is not an example of national collaboration, but it's an example of global collaboration. Okay, so thank you very much for your attention today, and I will see you in our next online class.